All right. Good morning, everybody. It's so good to have you here. My name is Ben Kovacs. I work in Chicago, and I'm excited to be here with Yngve Omarsson. He is the author of 14 Things That Are Obsolete in 21st Century Schools, the CTO and Innovation Advocate in Skagafjörður School District. Skagafjörður is a region in the north of Iceland with about 4,500 people. There are three schools, Árskóli in Sauðárkrókur being the largest with 336 students. Árskóli in Sauðárkrókur, Iceland was one of the first schools to embrace G Suite for education in Iceland and the first using Chromebooks and Google Expeditions. Technology has broken down the walls of isolation, increased collaboration, connected staff and students to the world, and transformed the way they learn. Leading the way for a lot of schools on school development and technology in schools in Iceland, Yngve is a trailblazer, and I'm happy to call a friend. So the title of his talk and conversation is Breaking the Isolation in the North of Iceland and Building Bridges for Collaboration.
All right. Thank you, Ben. All right. So welcome, everyone, to this talk. I just want to say the title of this talk, or conversation, I should say, is Breaking the Isolation in the North of Iceland and Building Bridges for Collaboration. Now, I'm fortunate enough to work in schools. I'm fortunate enough to work in education, and I work in great schools here in the north of Iceland, like Ben said, and I'm lucky enough to have the position of a CTO and Innovation Advocate. Innovation Advocate is actually a title I stole from Ben when I visited him, which is like the coolest title ever. So I used to be just the CTO, but the Innovation Advocate thing is so much cooler. So now, first of all, I hold this job in this position because of the vision of teachers, administrators, parents, politicians here in this part of the country on how they want to better lead this community into the future. My job entails three things. It is redesigning teaching and learning in the 21st century and asking the why question with everyone. It's redesigning the physical space of school and how and where we teach and learn. And it's getting the right tools that fit the needs of our schools. Now, the technology, most of all, that we're buying is technology that fits the needs, like I said, for the 21st century schools instead of the 20th century offices before. Now, first thing I'm going to go into, and I'll show you a little bit about the outline of the presentation. It looks a little bit like this. First, I'll talk about rethinking teaching and learning in the 21st century. Then I'll go into how we are redesigning the physical space for learning and how technology is breaking the isolation here in the north of Iceland. And last, getting the right tools to build bridges for collaboration. If you guys have any questions, you can find the link, I think, somewhere online. So I'll go into it a little bit. Now, rethinking teaching and learning in the 21st century and asking myself the question of why. Why? It's because, and what I've come down to is that I've realized that we're not preparing our students for our future, the future we were prepared for, but their own. And that looks completely different. Now, I've talked to a lot of people and I've read a lot of stuff on it, but talking to people, they didn't quite get it until they, basically, they didn't get it until I showed them a report called The Future of Employment, How Susceptible Are Jobs to Computerization. Now, The Future of Employment is by Carl Frey and Michael Osborne from the University of Oxford in 2013, came out, and they looked at 700 different occupations, more than 700 different occupations. And well, future of employment, how susceptible are jobs to computerization means basically how likely is it your job is going to be done by machines or automated in the next 20 years. Now, it was very interesting in so many ways. First of all, I'll show you the slides here. First of all, these are the main results. In the next 20 years, 47% of jobs, according to this research, are very likely to be done by machines. 47%. Around 22 to 27% more are very likely to be outsourced. Now, that's kind of a scary statistics or plan or what they predict is going to happen. But the good news is that about 65% of the jobs that our children will do don't exist today. Now, that might get some people, especially here, to ask the questions, all right, how safe is my job? Now, if we look at it, if we have 100 jobs today, this says how likely it is that these jobs are going to be less than 1% of them will be automated, according to this. There's some of them out of those 702, and these are the 4 that I took out especially. And they have a lot of things in common. Teachers, designers, writers, artists, and so on and so forth. Now, okay, so this means if 100 people are working in these positions now, there'll be 99 or more in the next 20 years. Now then we look at the other end of this, and we see that these are the jobs that are likely to go away in the next 20 years. If we have 100 fishermen today, we'll have 17, according to this research, in the next 20 years. We'll have 9 tour guides. We'll have 2 drivers and 2 bank tellers. You can look at the report in more details if you just look at, write this down, the future of employment, how susceptible are jobs to computerization. And it's online and it's free. I encourage you to look at it. Now, all right, once we go through that, then we look at the main findings. The main findings of this research was that creative tasks are difficult to automate, and jobs in transportation, logistics, and office administrative support are at high risk of automation. 3, social intelligence jobs in education, healthcare, multimedia, and the arts are at low risk. This is what I just showed you before. Now, these results are fascinating, and they just said at the end that for workers to win the race, they will need to acquire creative and social skills. Now, I don't want to say that schools are a race, and by no means I mean that. And I often challenge the fact that we're racing anywhere, but that's another thing. But they say this at the end of the report. Creative and social skills are the main thing there. Now, these results are fascinating. These results are big for others, but we look at them and they're huge for us. They're so big for us because many jobs in this region of the country and in this country are in danger because a lot of our jobs are in primary production, like fishing, agriculture, transportation, and those are the jobs that are very likely to be gone in the next 20 years, or almost. Now, so what I told people here in this region is that it's no longer enough to because the hard, dangerous, and dull jobs have declined because technology substitutes muscle power. And it's no longer the job of our schools to create factory workers or people with secretarial skills. Now, and we're, like I said in the beginning, we're not preparing the kids for our future, but their own. And that's an important aspect of that.
Wow, that's a lot of information. I think I think we've all kind of heard some of the thoughts and opinions about this, but seeing that research is pretty heavy. So what would you say are the skills that students need for their future?
Well, basically this, like instead of what we talked about earlier, the factory workers or secretarial skills, we're looking at CEO skills. We're looking at skills where kids can think, well, or people anywhere. And this is what companies and the communities are looking for. People that can think, innovate, speak, do, fail, and they plan things, and they have a vision. They can present, they can communicate and collaborate, and like all these things. They're creative and they empower others, and that's so important. And they show character through adversity. Like it's best described, in my opinions, as and I know a lot of the viewers have seen this, and it's the 4 C's of 21st century learning, and that's kind of what I'm working towards in our guide. It's best described, in my opinions, as and I know a lot. So yeah, you've heard about the four C's, right, Ben?
I have heard about the four C's. Sorry about the hiccup there. Yeah, I have, but can you tell us a little bit more about them and the way that they play a role in Iceland?
Yeah, I mean, the four C's is what a lot of people have talked about. Now, I've seen some reports and other talk about six C's, where citizenship and character are added to the list. But basically, the four C's are communication, collaboration, creative thinking, and critical thinking. Now, I split them up in two now, and I'm going to talk a little bit about collaboration and critical thinking at the end. But first of all, communication and creative thinking, because communication and creative thinking are very important, and more so now than ever before, in my opinion. And I mean, it's the arts, the music, drama, dance, recess. It's all those things, free play, and balancing the curriculum and everything. And I think everyone that's watching this have heard Sir Ken Robinson talk about this in great lengths. If they haven't, and I suggest they turn this off and turn him on instead. but anyway, like it's like for us, it's focusing on the arts, and it's music. We just merged the music school to this school that I'm in now, Árskóli. So we have 6 music teachers working in the school for 330 students, but we're still not doing enough. Drama, every student goes on stage every year and is in the theater production. So every class and every grade has a big production every year. And our oldest students, and dance has been a part of our curriculum for the past 20 years or so, and our oldest students do a dance marathon for 24 hours every year. So we do a lot in working with communication and creative thinking, and we're trying more and more to work towards that. Now, the other part of the 4 C's is collaboration and critical thinking. And that Google really ties into helping us break in the isolation and build the bridges for the collaboration that we now see in our schools.
Okay. And so how does it do that? I'm curious.
There's a lot of things that it has done. Well, first of all, what was very important for us, I'll show you this slide first. But what's important for us for working with collaboration, critical thinking is, first of all, what we had to do was put up robust Wi-Fi system like that. Without that, we can't do anything, really. I mean, we with collaboration, we can do a lot without Wi-Fi, but with it, we can do so much more. And I was at the Icelandic Regional Development Center this week, and I talked to one of their employees who's doing the National Regional Development Plan for 2017 to 2023. And what was fascinating, what he told me was, throughout the years, roads have been a #1 priority in Iceland. You know, if you go to any community, say, what should we fix? What should what should the government fix for you? It's always been the roads. Like, the roads have been #1. Now, first time ever, now they go around to these 8 districts in Iceland and they ask them, and now across the board, for the first time ever, it's high-speed internet connection. They say internet's first, Wi-Fi, and the roads are second. Now it's like, because they say, like, if we have Wi-Fi, we can do anything. We can connect. We can learn anything. Our businesses can be blooming because people can book and people can, like, come in here. If we have roads, that's a second, but Wi-Fi is first, definitely. So we installed a robust Wi-Fi system in our schools to lay the foundation for that as well, to be able to move on.
Okay, so that's interesting. Having just visited Iceland, the roads are really important. It's such a country of the of nature, of the elements. That,
but another thing is, we would never have met if it wasn't for Wi-Fi. I might have been able to get you here flying or whatever if it wasn't for the roads, but Wi-Fi would never have been connected. Like,
right, exactly. Yeah. So you got the Wi-Fi, and then I know that at Árskóli, you were the first to work with virtual reality and Google Expedition. So how has that helped to break the isolation and develop critical thinking with your kids?
Well, Expeditions I think it's incredible. and virtual reality in schools. Now, the difference between the experience of Google Expeditions or going on virtual reality versus the textbook is just miles apart. I mean, I'd say the best way to view the world is going out and see it, you know, but the next best thing is probably virtual reality. You know, it is incredible. And you can see that picture of one of our students going on virtual reality for the first time. And that was, I mean, it's just one of many I could put up there and show people. But, you know, we bought 22 phones and devices for our students, and it's really cool. I mean, it is, because it's important for our kids to like see other parts of well, this country, but also other countries and other cultures. It's very, very important for them to see that.
Yeah, definitely. So your job is also, as you mentioned, to redesign the physical space of the school to better meet the needs of staff and students. Mm-hmm. So where, when, and how we learn as a whole is really important to develop all of those 4 C's, including some of those other like culture pieces that you're introducing us to that now I feel like I have to read up on. But can you tell us more about how and why you are redesigning those physical spaces?
Yeah. Well, the classrooms, I wrote this in a blog post in 2014, and I came back to it when I was preparing for this. And classrooms can be isolated in 2 ways. I mean, one where the doors are closed and the parents, teachers, or guests are just not welcomed. I mean, that's isolation. So you can have all the internet connection in the world, and you can have all the possibilities, but you can have everything around you, the greatest forests or whatever, and you can still be isolated in your own classroom, like closing the door. So just a closed door says, just don't come in here. It has written all over it. But the other way of being isolated is like from the outside of those 4 walls. And like Tony Wagner, the author of The Global Achievement Gap, says the isolation is the enemy of improvement. And I so agree with that. And the classroom should be open. Teachers should be able to walk anywhere, learn from each other. So what we've done is, in breaking down the redesigning the physical space, is breaking down physical walls between classrooms. So instead of having one teacher previously, we had one teacher in one classroom and about 20 students. Now we have 2 to 3 teachers in every classroom. They're bigger, but you can close between them, but they have they're co-responsible for their group of students, which range from 26 to 44 students at this school. And also building the spaces for collaboration around the school and making the library the heart of the school, like where everyone learns and not just the students. Because when do students see their teachers reading a book in the library? Like, when did that happen? And we keep telling the kids, go to the library, do some, and they never see an adult there, like ever. And I'm currently in our test kitchen, as you can see, with a bunch of technology where people, our teachers and staff and students can come in and try things out. So this used to be an old computer room, but computer rooms are outdated. I don't want to so we just took all the computers out, bought iPads, laptops, Chromebooks. You can see these over here, bought all these kinds of stuff for students to take out from the computer room and stop facing the wall and working individually and go out and, learn anywhere in the school. And so that's important.
Yeah, so kids just come in there and go shopping. They're like, I need this, I need this. They go take it out to my classroom or the hallway.
Basically, yeah. So they come in here to try things out, and that's.
It's really empowering for kids to give them that choice and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, addition to the expeditions and the Wi-Fi, as you previously mentioned, what other tools help fit the needs of students and teachers today to become better learners and less isolated?
The tools, well, first of all, with the Wi-Fi, with everything, breaking down the walls, we're increasing the collaboration. And teachers are showing students how to collaborate. Like that, they're modeling how we collaborate for our students. So they see collaboration every day, and they see how we work and where we work. We're just working alongside the students. So we're modeling that behavior of how we collaborate. So we gave laptops to all the teachers, iPads for the students, Chromebooks they can check out here if they need it. And I mean, just the fundamental thing that we got was the G Suite for education. That completely changed. It changed how we can collaborate. And I'll show you a picture of collaboration before. Here we go. I'll show you a picture of collaboration before the G Suite for it, like before we got the Chromebooks and Google Expedition. This was on Microsoft Word, and it's like they're driving a car.
I mean, we've all seen that before, yeah.
Yeah. And this is a collaboration project, and one student on the left was doing the project. The other one was, I don't know what, maybe Google translating something, I don't know. And the other two were in the back seat just watching. I mean, this is now collaboration looks more like this. Like they're working in their classrooms, and they're working alongside with books and iPads and other students sitting anywhere at their desks or on the floor or anywhere, or at home even. They couldn't do that before. And that's like really increased the amount of collaboration that we have and how we can do work. And it's really changed that.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. So how have the Chromebooks and mobile devices helped as opposed to the traditional desktop computers that you see in so many schools in the first in that first slide that you showed where everyone was collaborating around a desktop computer? What do you think about having Chromebooks and mobile devices is doing for your schools in Iceland?
These mobile devices are moving kids out of their traditional computer room where the lights are off and they're just facing the wall working on their own, into a more collaborative space where they can work anywhere and with anyone. And we've seen, I could tell you stories about our students and how it is really changed for them. I'll tell you a little story about one kid that I happened to walk into their class when we just received the Chromebooks, but they were still working on the desktop computers in Google Docs. And I walked in, and this kid is dyslexic, and he had this. They were doing a report on the solar system, and the assignment was do one page on a planet of your choice. And he chose Mars. Put on YouTube, put on headphones, found a song called Alien. What was it? Alien Songs from Mars or something. And listened to that. And he had this big book in his hand, and he was like trying to see what it said. And as soon as he found something, he was like, "Where should I put this? There's a student here, and there's a student there." So he decided to just put it behind him on the floor, and it was just like this pitch dark room, and it was like, and I walked in, I was like, all right. And he was doing it in Times New Roman 12 point because that's the way they do things. That's the way it's always been done. So I was like, all right, hey, I was like grabbed, and I was like, come out in the hall. Here's a Chromebook. Here's the library lit up. Here's a big table for you. You can put the book here. I'll go into the document with you. I'll help you out there, even though I'm not working in this class now. But I have to leave pretty soon. But I'll follow you there, and so you can send me questions and stuff. And I told him turn off the music and go on YouTube instead and write 8 facts about Mars for kids. And I told him every time that person says something of interest, you write that down, or better yet, you can speak it into the document. And I said, all right, and this font here, 12 point, let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's make it 24 so you see it better, and let's change the font so it fits dyslexic students better. And this kid had done a sentence and a half in the first 40 minutes, and when we changed the environment, gave him Chromebooks and put him out there, and I was collaborating with him, he did the whole thing, the report, whole page in the next 40 minutes, finished before anyone else. And he was so delighted. It changed everything for him. That's just one example of how it definitely has helped our students.
Yeah. Wow. Gosh, that's the reality too, is just The way that it gets kids to stop listening to songs from Mars, that's hilarious. But really just giving all of our students access to information and things like that. So if anybody has questions, feel free to throw them into the question document. We've got a few comments about some alternative points of view, and I think that's another great thing about Google and technology in general, is that when we start this conversation, it leads to a lot of divergent points of view, and then really just helps all of our students to have the robust tools to help teachers and to help learners be successful. So
we can maybe answer questions, like if people want to tweet, you know, either me at Yngvi Ómarsson, they can see it. I think mine is over here, and they can tweet us. Your Twitter handle is at @KovacsTeach, right?
That's correct. Yes.
So they can send us questions, and you know, I'll be happy to answer as the day goes on and take part in this.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to continuing that conversation for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Looking forward to following more about the Google on Air, EDU on Air throughout the day and continuing the conversation. Thanks so much, Yngvi, for being here and sharing a little bit about what it's like in Iceland.
Well, thanks. It was my pleasure. So thanks, everyone. Thanks again, Ben.
Of course.
And let people, it's 2:00, so they should go to the next session, grab a cup of coffee, and go to the next one, right?
All right.
Happy birthday, everyone. All right.